Well, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Drew's Automobile Wonders. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and a great New Year for that matter. I know I've been off here for a little bit. It's because it's been the holiday season and I've been kind of distracted by doing holiday stuff. And it's also been cold up here in Michigan, so I haven't been outside a whole lot either still. So I probably won't be able to get to more entertaining things on this channel until about springtime when I'm outside a little bit more. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, here goes another episode of vehicles that I've owned. This here was my 1985 Nissan 300ZX. Now this car I didn't own for very long, so this should be a relatively short video. But I bought this car for $1,000 back in 2013 when I first came back from North Carolina. This was the original vehicle that I had planned to put together and get back into road racing with after I'd been away from it for so long. However, that was short-lived, and I'll get to that in a minute. I drove the car home, and I went with my buddy Joe to pick it up, and very fun car to drive, but basically I didn't play with it much past that. It kind of sat in the driveway as I looked it over, and it was when I went to pick it up, I test drove it, and it drove, and everything worked on this car, from the radio to, it had an aftermarket radio in it. It drove nice, it shifted nice. Everything from all the lights to the vacuum powered flip-up headlights all worked. Everything worked on it. The windows were power, they all worked. I think it had power locks on it too that all worked. But as you can see in this picture here, it was very, very rusty. And I was 20 at the time, so I didn't really have the know-how still to, look a car over entirely before I bought it. And I was in for a rude surprise when I looked underneath, and we had noticed that the frame rails were rotted out on the bottom. So when we looked underneath and saw that, that's what kind of made me nervous and made me kind of realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't have bought this car. But me being me, and I was like, well, maybe I could fix it and repair it. It takes some fabrication and whatnot. And this was now note, this was before I restored my F100 and my Fall Guy truck, long before that. So, I was still coming into the world of fabrication and welding and stuff like that, because I still had minimum experience. But I knew it was, at that point though, it was going to be a really, really tough project for being what I wanted to do with it, because I wanted to put a cage in it, and I wanted to make a road race car out of it and then join NASA or SECA and run it in either of those classes, or even just a track day car, which, if this thing wasn't as rotted out as it was, it would have been perfect for a track day car, or just to tootle around. And in a way, I kind of wish I still had it, because with it being as rusty as it was, it would have made at the absolute minimum, a great winter beater. And I say that because I live up here in Michigan, where it snows and salts, and and that car was just too far gone. It had a 3-liter NA V6. This is the non-turbo model. I do believe, yeah, there was no belt for the AC, so they technically, quote unquote, had a AC delete, but the compressor was still there. All it had was a K&N cone filter on it, and it had a really, really obnoxious loud exhaust that was dumped halfway underneath. So it was, the exhaust was, that was one thing I definitely wanted to fix on it first, was make it quieter. It was pretty obnoxious, which it came with a lot of parts, and I'll get to that here in a minute. But as you can see on this side, it was very, very rotted out. And it's a shame too, because these cars were cool, but Nissan, the thing about 80s Nissans is and Datsuns and whatnot, and they're just so prone to rotting out. And even the 90s, they are. I don't know what it was with Nissan, but they used some really, really weak steel in terms of barren weather and elements outside, as well as the man-made stuff like salt. But apparently the fair ladies were not it didn't fare well for the fair ladies, so to speak. So it was a 5-speed, of course, and this was a 5-speed swap, as I was told when I bought it. The 5-speed came out of a turbo car, and this was an automatic originally. So, and that's of course half the reason I bought it is because it was a stick shift. But as you can see, the interior, I know these pictures aren't very good. These are old from, like 2013. I had my old phone, but all in all, the interior was all there. Everything worked. Climate controls all worked. It just didn't have air conditioning, of course. The lighting all worked. The cruise control, I bet, worked. I didn't try it, but I guarantee it worked. I mean, that's how confident I was in this car, because everything worked on it. It was also a T-top too, so that was another thing about being up in the air about being a track car. Was I kind of wanted a solid roof, but so I don't know how that would have worked in any rule book, because I never got around to putting the car on, putting the car up for SCCA or NASA competition. It came with all these extra parts though. Cylinder heads, came with an extra intake, a couple other things. I think it came with a whole other, rack pinion, came with a bunch of other linkage, column, struts, whole entire assemblies, spindles. I mean, there was a lot of parts there, as you can see. And I got rid of everything when I whit rid of the car. I sold everything with the car because I needed the money, because I had gone to this pit crew training school for NASCAR pit crew, which was a fun experience, but I had to pay for it by getting rid of this car, which was okay by me, because like I said, I was still getting on my feet at the time. I was only working part-time, so I had to make do. I did get to start when the biggest turn-off for me was when I started stripping the car down, as you can see here. And that's where I started to realize it was going to be way too much work for what I could afford at the time, and and beyond my abilities to do things, learning wise, it was going to be a lot for me to do. So I wanted to, say, I wanted to kind of, I don't want to say give up on it, but I want to say I definitely wanted to take a step back and rethink it, and I ended up getting rid of the car and decided to wait till future comes along and something better comes along, and something that will be a lot more easy going for me to work on and convert if I don't just buy one outright, which I ended up buying one outright. I ended up buying my spec Miata, so it worked out in the end ultimately, and meanwhile I still got on track with my G8, so it all worked out, and I still got the track experience I needed, so, and wanted for that matter. But all in all, this was a fun car to drive. It was just really rusty, and it was one that wasn't very useful other than for being a winter car. So I ended up selling it, and I think I ate $200 on it. As a matter of fact, I kept the stereo out of it though, so I guess you could say I got a $200 outdated stereo because it didn't even have an aux port. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about this car. I mean, it was loud, but it drove very nicely. It ran very, very good. It was a very stout running car. I mean, you looked at it and it was rough, but altogether it was a good running driving car. I just, when I sold it to the guy, I told him, I said, it's a good daily driver, it's just really rusty. So he bought it, so, and it was in the middle of winter when he bought it, so I don't know if it's still out there. It probably isn't. It probably found its way to a junkyard at this point, because likewise it's very rotted out, which is a shame, because like I said, I like these cars, and I like I'm quite the fair lady kind of guy, so I like these old Nissan coupes. I'm glad it wasn't the 2+2 at least, because I know those weighed way more. On top of this one already weighing as much as it did. These were the heaviest between the Miata, the Porsche 944, the RX-7, and these. and the Conquest and the Stereon for that matter. Those cars kind of were the competition for this, and this car outweighed them by like 2,000 pounds. This thing basically weighed what a Mustang weighed. So I mean, it was a heavy car, but it was still nimble. I mean, I still had fun with that on the freeway when I drove it. So but anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I know it's kind of short, so till next time, I'll be reviewing something else. So till then, take care, everybody. Happy New Year and Merry late Christmas. See ya.